Argentina. A country went from an isolated Spanish colony named after mythical mountains and rivers that are full of silver, to become one of the wealthiest nations in the world at the beginning of the 20th century, attracting the admirations of millions who left their homes behind, came to its shores for better lives. However, the Argentinian dream busted in a matter of a short time, leaving only the evidences of its former glory for you to see today. The nation's history of working all the way up from nothing to the biggest stage in the world, and then a sudden full stop, intertwined with the fate of someone who still lives in the hearts of many Argentinians. From a humble beginning to one of the country's most beloved leaders, then to a sad early ending. While Argentina has so many things and people we can think of, when you see Evita, I always think of Argentina. Good morning everyone. So after the parks in the Palermo area, it was really hot, and I was really tired due to the lack of sleep, of course, in the past few days. So I went back to the hotel, turned the air conditioning on, and I did not want to step out of my hotel room again. So I just took it easy yesterday. Did not even have dinner. So right now is about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm right now in the neighborhood of Recoleta. So behind me is the Faculty of Law for the University of Buenos Aires. We're kind of in a rush. I stayed in Recoleta but never get to see it. So we've got a really brief tour of Recoleta coming up. Well, the thing is, I'm just trying to see as much as I can. If I can't see everything, well, I've got another 1 day and a half later when we return from other cities in northern Argentina. But for now, why don't we start exploring? Before we check out a famous BA landmark right next door on the border of Recoleta and Palermo, I happened to notice something that didn't quite fit the classy, ever beautiful Buenos Aires I had seen by that point. Interestingly, right across the railroad on the other end is one of the largest shanty towns here in Buenos Aires, and it happens to be so close to one of the most affluent neighborhoods known as Palermo. Despite being one of the richest countries in the world in the beginning of the 20th century, the wealth of Argentina, mainly obtained through exporting agricultural products, did not transform the country into a fully industrialized economy like nations in Europe. There was also a large gap between the people who have and those who do not have. There were upper-class Argentinians who enjoyed the most cutting-edge technologies at the time, such as electricity and air conditioning, whereas many others lived in shacks and struggled with poverty. After World War I and the Great Depression, the economy of Argentina started its decline due to less demand for Argentinian agricultural products from traditional buyers that were also in a decline, like the British Empire, as well as the rise of competitors such as the United States of America. As a result, rich Argentinians lost their wealth, the poor were still poor, but only growing numbers. Believe it or not, some of the shanty towns across Buenos Aires, known as villas in Spanish, had a long history all the way back. For example, the shantytown you see here, Villa 31, could be dated all the way back to the 1930s. Maybe there was a huge division between the lives of the wealthy and the poor, even in the Golden Age Argentinian society. Right next to the Faculty of Law building, you'll find a giant flower sculpture. This flower does not represent a specific type of flower, but as a collective that symbolizes the unity of all flowers. Yeah, for this monument behind me, I heard the petals will open up depending on the time of the day. So it's very early in the morning. I'm not sure if it's gonna open up later during the day. So if any of you knows the answer, please leave a comment below and let me know. I later checked the official tourism website of Buenos Aires. It indicated that the flower opens up at 8 o'clock every morning, and the sculpture will look like this when it opens up. Well, it appears that for some reason, the flower did not open. Fortunately, there were some rather comfy looking benches nearby, so I decided to make myself comfortable and see if I was able to witness the opening up of Floralis Genérica. Gosh, so many mosquitoes. Oh well, looks like no luck seeing the flower fully opening up this time, I guess. It was still too early that the most visited site of Recoleta, or some say the entire Ciudad Autónoma de Buenos Aires, had yet opened up to the visitors. So, I took the subte to Santa Fe Station on Line H, because I heard that there was a must-see bookstore very close by. Yeah, behind me is, one of the many bookstores here in Buenos Aires. Let's go in and take a look. Originally built in 1919 as a 1,000-seat performance theater and got repurposed as a bookstore since year 2000, El Ateneo is widely regarded as one of the most beautiful bookstores in the world. The building itself is a testament to Argentina's bygone golden age, but maintains as a legacy to the elegance and sophistication of a society that did not fade with the tremendous wealth that was responsible for creating it in the first place. Argentina was pretty much ruled with key resources controlled by a group of elites since its founding. However, because of the deterioration of economy after World War I, Argentina did not get to see further liberalization of its society like happening elsewhere, such as giving women the voting rights or creating social programs for helping those who struggle. Instead, what came with the unstable economy was turbulent politics. In 1930, 1 year after the Great Depression that officially ended the country's golden age, Argentina became a military dictatorship. During World War II, despite not being affected by the war directly, there was a constant power struggle within the military government. In 1946, 1 year after World War II ended, Argentina's politics started to become relatively stable, with one man now in power, Juan Perón, a former lieutenant general and secretary of labor in the military government. Juan Perón's presidency soon gained tremendous popularity because of his pro-working class and anti-elitist stances, today known as Peronism. Peronists distinguish their ideology as an alternative third way to communism and capitalism. They believe that both communism and capitalism were obsolete ideals that focused on nothing but exploitations of the common people. The former exploits through the power of the state, whereas the latter exploits through utilizing capitals. The Peronist ideology, in contrast, only advocates for the best interests of the common people. I'm not going into details on the exact beliefs of Peronism, or whether it benefits or harms a country more or less. Today, followers of Peronism are still a strong political force in Argentina. Some like them, some others don't. That's all I want to say. Now, why don't we go check out many say to be the most visited attraction in Recoleta and even Buenos Aires, the Recoleta Cemetery. Alright folks, I just got into Cementerio de Recoleta, so the Recoleta Cemetery. And apparently for visiting, especially foreign tourists, the hours are actually from 9 to 5 p.m., so 17 hours. For locals, you can enter, I think, for free between 7 a.m. till 18 hours or 6 p.m. And for visitors or maybe foreigners, there's also a fee you have to pay. But yeah, I'm here, so it's only a few minutes past 9 o'clock, and it's, as you can see, it's pretty empty. I'm pretty much all on my own. This cemetery really reminds me of Cementerio du Père Lachaise in Paris, but with an Argentinian twist. The cemetery is the final resting place of many prominent Argentinians, some with names that you could easily recognize through the names of landmarks and streets across Argentina. While I knew almost nothing about pretty much everyone who were buried there was one particular tomb that I came to see. On our way to find out where it's located, why don't we continue our talk on the Peronist movement? Despite Juan Perón being the namesake of the ideology and held the office of the presidency, the real star of Peronism is not Juan himself, but his second wife that has so much influence not only on him, but also the history of Argentina, Maria Eva Duarte de Perón, or like many others call her, Evita. Growing up poor, Evita knew and experienced what life was like for Argentinians working poor. She later became a stage actress, and in 1944, she met Juan Perón, and 1 year later, married him. Evita was probably one of the most powerful first ladies in history, as she actually used her influence on advocating better lives for the poor, women, and children. Because of her efforts, Argentinian women received voting rights in 1947. Working conditions and certain labor rights were guaranteed for the workers, and social programs were established to help those in need, especially the poor. Evita became immensely popular among the Argentinians, and in 1951, she was even nominated as Juan Perón's running mate to be the vice president of Argentina. However, cancer found Evita when she was only in her very early 30s, and eventually her declining health made everything except the last bit of her fragile life busted right in front of her eyes. She withdrew from the presidential race in 1951 and died at the age of 33 in 1952. As many as 3 million people attended Evita's public funeral in Buenos Aires. The life of Eva Peron became a subject beyond politics, even featured by musicals and movies like Madonna's portrayal in the 1996 film Evita. Evita was buried at the Duarte family mausoleum right here inside the Recoleta Cemetery, and is the most visited tomb site in the so-called the most visited tourist attraction in Buenos Aires. It was rather easy to spot, because most likely you'll find a crowd inside a rather narrow alley. I think the Recoleta Cemetery is certainly well worth a visit, especially if you haven't seen Cementerio Père Lachaise in Paris or the Novodevichy Cemetery in Moscow, Russia, which were quite similar. There are many more impressive tomb sites than Evita's, so if you're already inside the cemetery, make sure to check them out as well. While Argentina under Perón did see improvements in the life of the working class people and the status of women, many other aspects saw no improvement. Even in some cases, there were scalebacks. Juan Perón's vision for Argentina was greatly influenced by his life experience in fascist Italy in the 1930s. During the Perón era, Argentinian government started to cut imports from other countries to encourage domestic production, so the country could be so-called self-reliant, and nationalized many profitable key sectors that were once owned by foreign stakeholders, so the government could secure as much funding as possible for the new social programs which many Argentinians benefited from. As a result, foreign investment started to fall and eventually left the country because foreign investors saw no confidence in the Argentinian government. The now newly nationalized key industries did not see any innovation or competition, but instead, corruptions came. And the government's massive spending eventually led the Argentinian economy to reach the point of no return. In 1955, Juan Perón, who was increasingly acting more like a fascist dictator, was overthrown by the Argentinian armed forces. In 1973, Juan Perón had enough support that he returned from exile and once again became Argentina's president. 1 year later, he died at the age of 78. The power was succeeded by Isabel, the vice president of Argentina and Juan Perón's third wife. In 1976, Isabel was once again overthrown by the military. Since the Great Depression, the political instability never provided Argentina an opportunity to bounce back economically. Or in Donald Trump's words, "Make Argentina great again" never happened. The economic problem persisted and became worse as time goes by. Even the military dictatorship that ruled Argentina with iron fist that led to the death and disappearances of tens of thousands of Argentinians in the subsequent years found themselves on the brink of losing their power. Oh well, one thing I have to warn you is that there are a lot of mosquitoes in here. Anyways, for our Recoleta tour, there's one place remaining to check out before I must move on to a different neighborhood of Buenos Aires to attend one of the top experiences for anyone coming to Argentina. On the edge of the cemetery is a colonial-style building originally built in the 1700s. That means it's even older than Argentina as a nation. To reach there, you'll need to exit the cemetery and head to its main entrance right next door. Here's a nice church, let's check it out. In a last-ditch effort to stay in power, the military government of Argentina declared war on the United Kingdom to take back what Argentinians still think should be rightfully theirs, its Las Malvinas, or according to the British, the Falkland Islands. The result? Hundreds were killed, thousands were wounded, and Argentina lost. We'll touch more on this topic later in the series, but the military government fell after this humiliating defeat. Argentina was arguably at the lowest point since its independence, with a collapsed economy, and it was a totally defeated nation. Argentinians did not find a little bit of comfort again, or some say a taste of vengeance, until 1986 in Ciudad de Mexico. To many people, even today, it was something rather odd. But according to one certain football player, there was nothing odd about it. Everything was the work of God.